No more asking for paper or plastic. Governor Jerry Brown signs the first statewide ban on plastic bags, but will it ever take effect? Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. A look at the ban and the response to it coming up on KPBS Evening Edition. We'll also tell you about Mayor Kevin Faulconer's plan for dealing with climate change.
And San Diego is home to more than 4,000 gang members. I'm Peggy Pica with why the City Council supports a new anti-gang plan that would start in preschool.
And coastal communities like Carlsbad are looking at ways to update transit service as they consider the city's future plans. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a developing story, the first confirmed case of Ebola right here in the U.S. The patient is being treated in isolation at a hospital in Dallas. He came to the U.S. from Liberia. Of course, Ebola has killed thousands in West Africa, but U.S. health officials are confident they can keep it contained in this country.
The bottom line here is that I have no doubt that we will control this importation or this case of Ebola so that it does not spread widely in this country. It is certainly possible that someone who had contact with this individual, a family member or other individual, could develop Ebola in the coming weeks. But there is no doubt in my mind that we will stop it here.
The patient has not been identified. CDC says the patient didn't show symptoms on the plane. Ebola is not contagious until symptoms begin. Plans are in the works to produce more ZMapp, an Ebola treatment created by San Diego's MAP Biopharmaceutical. It's been used to treat several patients who were cured, but it's still not known whether the drug made the difference. The supply of ZMapp had run out. Federal health officials say there are plans to make more at a site in Texas and possibly in North Carolina. Governor Jerry Brown is closing out this legislative session, adding a series of nationwide firsts to California law. Besides defining when yes means yes in campus sexual assault cases, he's also approved the first statewide ban on disposable plastic shopping bags and a bill allowing family members to ask a judge to take guns away from someone who appears to pose a threat. Plastic bag makers, of course, are promising a referendum drive to repeal the bag ban. It's supposed to take effect in stages starting in July 2015. The bags would first be phased out at big retailers like Walmart and Target, then at convenience stores and pharmacies in July 2016.
There's more than 100 billion plastic bags that are generated in the country every single year, 13 billion of them in California. And while consumers have on their own done a good job of moving to reusable bags, this ban is going to eliminate that final 13 billion.
Shoppers will have to carry their own reusable bags or pay 10 cents apiece for paper bags at the store. Critics say the state will lose jobs over the ban. San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer is a supporter, however, saying the statewide ban saves the city the expense of passing one of its own. California also becomes the first state to let family members ask a judge to take guns away from a relative who appears to pose a threat. That law is in response to last May's shooting rampage at UC Santa Barbara when 6 people were killed. The gunman's parents raised concerns about his behavior, but sheriff's deputies then determined he was not a threat. The governor also rejected about 3 dozen bills today, including an anti-corruption measure by San Diego Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. It was a response to the South Bay corruption scandals and would have forbidden school administrators from raising money for school board elections. In the governor's veto message, he said he's not inclined to establish a separate set of rules for one class of school employees. Gonzalez responded on Twitter saying she's disappointed and she, quoting here, hate for another community to go through what ours did. Today, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer unveiled a climate action plan, and he says it meets the City Council's call for 100% renewable energy, as well as the state's goal to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And he says it creates green jobs for San Diego.
This plan provides a framework to create new jobs in the renewable energy industry with the installation of solar panels and electric vehicle charging stations. Together, we will improve public health and air quality by reducing carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and other particulate matter. And we will decrease San Diego's dependence on imported water.
One thing missing from Faulkner's plan, a controversial mandate for homeowners to make upgrades before selling their homes. The rule was mentioned in previous versions, but Faulkner's plan only requires disclosing energy and water use before a sale. Of course, you can find the full plan online at kpbs.org. The mayor's office is inviting public input. 2 local nonprofits are getting federal grants to help get homeless veterans off the streets. Veterans Village of San Diego and Interfaith Community Services of Escondido are each getting $3 million from the VA. The last count of San Diego's homeless population found 17% were veterans. San Diego City Council supports a new plan to curb gang activity starting as early as preschool. Peggy Pico takes a look at the proposal.
Council President Todd Gloria says the 3-stage anti-gang initiative presented by the city's Commission on Gang Prevention and Intervention is good, but he wants details on cost and funding. Here to talk about local gangs and the plan is my guest, former gang member and now member of San Diego's Gang Prevention and Intervention Commission, Bishop Cornelius Bowser. Welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Now, give us a snapshot of gang activity in San Diego today. What are we looking at?
Well, you're looking at what you have there. You have the African Americans, or the black group of gangs. Then you have the Latino gangs. In Southeast San Diego, City Heights is basically where, dealing with City of San Diego, where most of the gangs are. The gangs today are more mobile. They're not just located in one. They have their side of town, but they're all over the place. So it's kind of hard to fix them in one area.
How many gang members are we looking at, and what's the age range? Well,
the age range is, I would say, the average age is between 13 and 15, but they've joined the gang as young as 9.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And there's, I had heard the police say about 4,000 or more than 4,000 members?
4,100 adults and 100 are juveniles.
Okay. Now, the Gang Commission initiative that we're talking about, there was a strategy in there that starts as early as preschool.
Yes.
Would you highlight some of those key strategies for us, and why start so early?
Oh, okay. Well, one of the things I want to highlight for sure is that our strategic action plan is, it has been evaluated. It's a public health model that has been evaluated, and it has been researched. And so we focus on 3 areas, which is prevention, intervention, and suppression. In dealing with intervention, we basically, prevention, let me do prevention first. Dealing with prevention, we basically focus on preschool and after-school programs dealing with kids that are young, because if you're going to prevent, you have to get them before they get to that age they want to join the gang. So we focus on trauma-informed care, educating agencies about trauma-informed care, and also we're looking at collaborating with the county of mental health, not mental health, but human health services, in dealing with the public health nurses when they go into the homes when mothers are pregnant or they have lost someone who through a homicide or some type of violent act, and they go in. So we want to be trained. We want to get community volunteers to be trained to get in there and start dealing with them at an early age.
And then that's the prevention, but also the middle section and the last section.
Yes, and then intervention is when we try to intervene in their life. So that's where you're really dealing with the gang members. You're dealing with trying to get in there and offer them job opportunities, life skills, work readiness, and also what we do through one of the community programs we have is called CAS, Community Assistance Support Team, where we get out there, we walk hotspots, crime, where high gang crimes are. We walk those communities, we knock on doors, we offer the community resources that they may need. We also try to connect with gang members, and we also do a piece with that gang intervention where we go to the hospitals, and we, when an individual has been shot or suffered through a violent gang violence, we get in there and try to talk with them to try to interrupt that retaliation.
How is this a strategy in this new initiative? How is it different than what's already being done, either through the police department or the schools?
I would say that, because it's a more joint effort now. When you have community over here, law enforcement over here, and politicians over here, or the city council over here, we're bringing it all together.
Well, you mentioned that some of these gang members are as young as 9 years old. I believe that's like third or fourth grade.
Absolutely.
Why do these members, either young or older members, say that they join gangs?
Well, it's a couple of reasons. One is there's friends, but also you have to remember that gangs been in San Diego for over 47 years, and so it's sometimes a generational thing where their father, their uncle, their mom, their brother, their cousins are in gangs, and so that's what really attract them into the gangs. Some of them actually born into it.
Well, and the City Council definitely supported the plan, but they wanted more information on funding and paying. What types of funds and resources are going to be needed to pay for this plan?
Well, we're still evaluating and looking at that. We have some ideas of what we'll need and so on, but we're still putting it together. And so once we do, we'll give a report on that.
All right. Well, I want to let folks know that they can read the anti-gang proposal at our website, kpbs.org. Bishop Cornelius Bowser, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You'd be forgiven if you thought there was only one congressional race in San Diego this year. There are actually 5. But as KPBS reporter Claire Trageser tells us, the other districts are considered shoo-ins, but it hasn't stopped some folks from running against them.
Every voter in San Diego County can cast a ballot in a congressional race this year, but political experts say the only competitive race is in the 52nd district. That's because voter registration in all the other districts strongly favors either the Republican or Democratic Party. But despite the long odds, people are fighting to challenge each incumbent.
It takes a lot of work, I can see, to get out and meet these people, but it's worth it to me. I want people to know why I'm running, why I'm doing this, what I stand for. But I also want to know what they want. What is it that they believe in?
James Kimber is a Democrat challenging the Republican Duncan Hunter Jr. in the 50th District, which spans much of unincorporated San Diego County. He says he has a shot to unseat Hunter, who was preceded in office by his father. That's because he's a very conservative Democrat. In fact, up until 2012, Kimber was a registered Republican. He changed registration shortly before announcing his run against Hunter.
I never saw a need to change my party. I was probably more of an independent voter. I don't think in my entire life that I've ever voted straight down the line.
Kimber was a senior chief hospital corpsman in the Navy and now works as a physician's assistant in neurological surgery. His campaign is focused on veterans issues and health care, which he brought up in a debate last week.
I was up in Ramona at a town hall, little coffee shop in Ramona, and this man pulled over the side of the road, finger in my chest, telling me he was a Republican and, you know, why am I even here? Asked him what his issue was. He told me it was health care. So I asked him, what type of insurance do you have? And he told me he didn't have any insurance. This is a man who has his own job. He supports himself, supports his family very well, but he cannot afford the insurance. We were able to pull up the Covered California and show him what his rate would be. And that man wanted to sign up right on the spot.
Kimber knows his district strongly favors Republicans, but he's putting a lot of time and money into his campaign anyway. He's raised more than $35,000, while Hunter has raised more than $1 million. Kimber has spent almost $10,000 on his own campaign, plus another $5,000 on campaign expenses.
I was told not to mortgage my home because I came close to doing that, but I have gone through a lot of my own money, and I just believe in it that much.
In a different race, a Republican candidate is giving it his all against an entrenched Democrat. Larry Wilski is running to unseat Susan Davis in the 53rd District, which covers most of the city of San Diego. He says despite the odds, he has a shot.
The thing is, the whole district's patriotic. So if I throw out Republican Democrat as a title and stick to what I understand, and that's service to country, people are getting behind me, and it's really, well, it's heartwarming, to tell you the truth.
Davis has raised about $400,000, while Wilski has raised $150,000. Wilski has loaned his own campaign $2,600.
We've reached our limit on what I can spend myself because it came out of our savings. It was for our future, but again, it's for our country and it's for service to country. So We can afford that.
Wilski was a Navy SEAL for 30 years and served as Command Master Chief of SEAL Team 7. He retired last year and was planning to start a towing and salvage business. Then he was asked to run against Davis.
If she was doing a great job in leadership, then I wouldn't be running for office. But again, there's the demand signal, is leadership representing our district.
Wilski wants to repeal and replace Obamacare and curtail states' use of cap and trade, which he says is based on a, quote, global warming scare. His campaign is focusing on economic issues, including building a stronger partnership with Mexico and a plan to bring a third aircraft carrier to San Diego.
I don't believe that if you're a freshman in Congress, that means you don't stand and fight for what you believe in. That would be like taking a soldier on his first deployment to war and say, don't shoot the enemy. That's insane.
Wilski and Kimber are hoping they'll get the chance to lead their districts. They just have to get voters to know who they are and that there are other congressional elections besides the 52nd district. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Video journalist Nick McVicker helped produce that story. You can find all of our election coverage online at kpbs.org/election. Researchers at the nation's largest brain bank say they found evidence of degenerative brain disease in nearly all of the former pro football players they've examined. They've been looking at the brains of players who've died, they told PBS Frontline. In 76 out of 79 cases, they found CTE, a disease caused by traumatic injuries to the brain. Former Charger Junior Seau was one of those players. The NFL is currently trying to settle a lawsuit over concussion injuries, but the Seau family has opted out of that settlement. Our media partner, iNewsSource, has been taking an in-depth look at California's vent farms, or specialized nursing homes, where thousands of people are living on life support. Tonight, Amitha Sharma takes a closer look at how planning ahead and making your medical wishes known can save you and your family from grief.
A report released earlier this month by the Institute of Medicine says most people aren't capable of making end-of-life decisions when they are in a health crisis. And so planning ahead is the best way to ensure patients' goals are aligned with the care they actually receive. Joining me to talk about advanced directives is John Tosted. He is program coordinator for the Advanced Care Department at Sharp Healthcare. John, what is an advanced directive?
Thanks, Amitha. Advanced directive is really clear and convincing evidence of a person's preferences for their health care. It names a primary healthcare decision maker, a healthcare agent, that if you as an individual become unable to make your healthcare decisions for yourself, that's your go-to person, your spokesperson, sometimes they're called durable power of attorney for healthcare.
So is it a legal document?
It's a legal document, yeah. It's witnessed appropriately, signed, and it contains information about a person's preferences related to healthcare.
Why are they so important?
Well, oftentimes if we have to speculate as to what a person's preferences for healthcare toward the end of their life are, it leads to a sort of bedside guessing game where we're wondering, wow, what would this person want us to do or not do in an effort to prolong their life or not prolong their life? And an advanced healthcare directive names that primary healthcare agent to be the spokesperson whose role is to honor that individual's preferences for their health care. And then that document contains, as much as possible, clear and convincing evidence about what you would want or not want for medical treatment.
So talk a little bit about what your department does.
We initiate conversations with people all across San Diego through community events and health fairs, and different types of organizations will invite us in to talk about the importance of advanced care planning. We initiate the conversation with people who are dealing suddenly with a new diagnosis of a chronic illness or a healthcare challenge. And how are they then going to navigate healthcare decision making in light of a new diagnosis?
So we have some tape of one of these conversations with healthcare planner Teresa Vaughn. She speaks with the Berlaza family about husband and father Pepito Berlaza. At the time of this conversation, Pepito had lived in a vegetative state for over a decade. Let's listen to it.
Does he still have to do not resuscitate if something happens to him? Meaning if his heart...
Oh, they're not going to do that. Okay.
Did you sign that? Is that what Dad has?
I think so. I don't know. I think he did already.
So what it would be is if his heart stops and his breathing stops, even being on there, would you want the team there to perform to resuscitate him, to perform CPR to attempt resuscitation?
I think it's dangerous for him to because he's weak and he's not so strong anymore.
Yeah, so I believe that's what it is, and that's what I meant by baby steps. I think he does have the do not resuscitate and the morphine.
Okay.
So those are those little baby steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, just weeks after that conversation, Pepito's heart did stop and he passed away. How tough is it to have these conversations with families?
Well, Teresa does a very skillful job of engaging with people, exploring their values and their beliefs and how they would relate to healthcare decisions. And the decision to attempt resuscitation or to not attempt resuscitation is a very, very tender conversation. A person's values, beliefs, their cultural background, their religious perspective all need to be considered with regards to whether or not an individual would want to attempt resuscitation. And in that conversation, something came up that was particularly important, and that is the efficacy of attempting CPR on someone who is chronically or critically ill. And really, CPR is not very effective for people who are dealing with late-stage illness, much less effective than most people think. So that conversation about how effective, what the statistical probabilities might be, what the burdens might be, and what the benefits potentially could be, it takes time and takes a great deal of skill to engage in those kinds of conversations.
But just because you have an advance directive doesn't mean that your wishes will be carried out, or does it?
Well, regarding the advance directive, it's more of an overarching kind of a general guideline with regards to a person's preferences for end-of-life care. The conversation that we saw taking place with Teresa's skilled facilitation is really more about what might be called a POLST form, or a physician's order for life-sustaining treatment. And that's a medical order that requires adherence to by emergency medical personnel and healthcare providers. Physician's order for life-sustaining treatment, or the POLST form. And that's directly related to attempting or not attempting CPR if the heart should stop or the breathing should stop. It also contains information regarding a person's preferences related to care, levels of care or treatment that they would want. So that's a very specific order.
And very quickly, how many people have these advance directives?
Well, most people, the vast majority of Californians in a 2012 survey indicated that they felt it was important to have their wishes in writing. And really less than 30% of Californians have ever taken the step to do so. And even those that have done it, typically it's been done with an attorney as a part of their estate planning, which is a great place to start, but that document often gets kind of filed away and isn't really a tool for healthcare decision making. So we say you should blow the dust off of that and review that document periodically.
John, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Great.
People who
Thanks,
want to
Linda.
learn more about this can go to inewssource.org.
Thanks.
More than 650 people put on pink construction hats this morning, forming a giant human pink ribbon at the UC San Diego Jacobs Medical Center under construction in La Jolla. This is a kickoff for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. All through October, construction workers will wear the pink hard hats. When it opens in 2016, it will house a special center devoted to breast health. The city of Carlsbad along the North County coast has a vision of the future. It includes improving the connection between downtown businesses, the train tracks, and neighboring beach areas. Its mineral water has been around forever. People have been flocking to Carlsbad for its medicinal spring water since the 1920s and 30s. Some say the old steam engine trains even ran on the special H2O. Promoted back then to attract more tourists to this coastal community with its tree-lined streets.
Carlsbad's done a lot of growing up.
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Packard says it's still a work in progress. They want Sandag, the county planning agency, to add a trenching project to its future plan for adding more trains to accommodate more transit riders.
The double tracking and the train traffic that goes with that would have a significant negative impact on the health of our village and our barrio area here in downtown Carlsbad.
The county plan would impact 3 existing railroad crossings in Carlsbad, affecting most of the businesses on the east side and many neighbors along the coast on the west. Gary Barberio is assistant city manager. He says it's an issue of public safety.
All of our public safety services are on the east side of the railroad tracks, so police, fire, ambulance service. Every time the gate is closed, it's really difficult for them to do their job, access the coast where most of the incidents are taking place.
That's why Carlsbad is suggesting a master plan of its own to place the railroad tracks lower than street level, just like it's done in nearby Solana Beach, where businesses, neighbors, and visitors can all take advantage of public transit and access to the beach. By the way, both planning proposals are still in the early stages. At a recent public meeting, most Carlsbad neighbors supported lowering the tracks, no matter what the cost. Chargers fans are all too familiar with NFL blackouts, keeping home games off TV when the team doesn't sell enough tickets. Today, FCC voted to sack the blackout rule. It doesn't mean blackouts are actually over. Those are written into NFL contracts with broadcast and cable companies, but the FCC isn't requiring the blackouts anymore. The old rule was written back in 1975 when most games didn't sell out and teams relied on ticket sales for most of their revenue. San Diego's downtown Central Library celebrating its first anniversary today. It's been used by about twice as many folks as the old library on East Street. About 3,000 folks a day visit the new library, and about 45,000 library cards have been issued in the past year. Hot weather is on the way. A heat advisory will take effect for much of the county on Friday morning. Temperatures will start rising on Thursday up to 89 along the coast by Friday. Inland temperatures low 80s tomorrow, up to 99 degrees by the end of the week. Mountains upper 70s to low 80s and upper 90s expected in the desert. Tonight's stories are online at kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.